Welcome back to Celeb Creativity, because we need to talk about what's happening on Love and Marriage, Huntsville right now. Martell Holt and Arion just handed the internet a whole plate of drama, and honestly, nobody had to ask twice. This started when Arion, out of nowhere, decided to post private text messages between her and Martell on her page. And once that happened, there was really no walking it back. Screenshots don't disappear. Somebody always has them saved. So let's start with the caption she put on it, because that's actually where things get interesting before you even read the messages themselves. She says she turned down the opportunity to be on the show the very first time it was offered to her, which, okay, fine, maybe that's true. But think about the timing of bringing that up now. Melody Shari is gone, the door is wide open, and suddenly it's convenient to mention that she could have been here before. A lot of people online picked up on that immediately, because when you feel the need to remind everyone you had the option before, that usually isn't coming from a place of confidence. That's coming from somewhere else. If you were really that secure, you wouldn't need the disclaimer in the first place. Now on to the actual messages, because this is where it gets messy in a way that honestly feels familiar if you've watched this show for more than one season. Martell is in full pleading mode in these texts, trying to smooth something over, and somewhere in there another name gets brought up. Arion calls this person by some nickname that had half of Twitter confused for a solid 10 minutes. But once you piece it together, the point is clear enough. This other woman apparently told Arion that Martell had been giving attention somewhere else too. So now we're watching the person who used to be the other woman find out she's dealing with her own version of the exact same situation. There's something almost poetic about that, if poetic is even the right word for something this messy. And then there's the part everyone keeps replaying, which is the section about his son. Martell's asking her to check the kid's school folder, make sure the right papers are on the right side, remind him to drink water, pack a snack, get his clothes ready for the morning. Totally normal parenting logistics on its own. But right in the middle of that conversation, Arion brings up somebody calling the phone over and over, and you can just feel the shift in tone. She's clearly bothered by it, and instead of actually addressing why someone keeps calling, Martell just kind of moves past it like it's not worth mentioning. That's the moment that really got people, because it's basically the same scene that played out years ago. Except back then, it was Melody in that spot, noticing the same pattern, getting the same non-answer. Now it's Arion, sitting exactly where Melody used to sit, dealing with the same brush-off, just from the other side of the story this time. And honestly, that's the whole point of why this blew up the way it did. It was never really about the specific words in the messages. It's about the fact that literally nothing changed except who's on the other end of the phone. Same behavior, different partner, different platform, same result. Somebody's juggling more than they're admitting to. Somebody's getting kept in the dark. And somebody else is learning in real time that being picked doesn't mean being put first. What makes it even messier, honestly, is how much Melody's name keeps popping up in something that has nothing to do with her anymore. She's not even really part of this storyline at this point, and yet almost every single argument between Martell and Arion somehow loops back around to her. Arion brings her up, the fans bring her up. Even the tone of Martell's texts kind of carries that history, whether he means it to or not. And look, when you find yourself constantly measuring your relationship against someone who already packed up and left, that tells on you a little bit. Nobody spends this much mental energy on an ex unless that ex is still occupying way more space in their head than they'd ever admit out loud. There's also that line where Arion says something like she's already won and things haven't even started yet. And I get the confidence, I do, but declaring victory before you've built anything tends to not age well, especially on this particular show, where we have literally watched this exact storyline before with different names on it. There's a difference between being confident and just being early to the celebration. Zooming out a little, this entire situation basically works as a mirror, whether anyone involved wants to admit that or not. Melody dealt with a version of this for years before she finally walked away. And from where most people sit, she walked away in a stronger position than she went in. She got her flowers publicly, opportunities opened up for her afterward, and she moved on to something better. Arion inherited whatever was left once that chapter closed, and now she's finding out that inheriting the relationship didn't come with inheriting stability. These patterns don't just vanish because the cast changed. If anything, they tend to show back up in almost the exact same shape, just with somebody new standing in the middle of it. It's also kind of wild how fast this turned into a public thing instead of staying private, which, again, feels very on brand for this show at this point. Whatever was actually going on between the two of them could have been handled in a DM or a phone call or literally anywhere that isn't a public page. But the second those screenshots went up, it stopped being a private disagreement and became content for everyone to pick apart. And once messages are out there, you don't get to control how people read them anymore. Every sentence gets reread 6 different ways. Every word choice gets a theory attached to it, and the person who posted it first doesn't always come out on top the way they thought they would. Let's slow down for a second on that son's school folder text, though, because I keep coming back to it. On its face, it reads like a completely normal co-parenting message. Bring the school clothes, refill the water bottle, check the folder. That's just Tuesday for a lot of parents. But context changes everything. And the context here is that this exact same message thread is where somebody else was blowing up the phone at the same time. So now that ordinary parenting moment gets read completely differently. It's not really about the water bottle anymore. It's about what was happening in the background while the water bottle conversation was going on. And that's kind of the theme of this entire leak. Nothing in isolation looks that bad. It's the timing and the overlap that makes it land the way it does. I also want to point out how quickly the audience turned this into a referendum on Arion specifically, more than on Martell, which is interesting because technically, he's the one in these messages pleading and smoothing things over, and, allegedly, doing the actual cheating. But a lot of the reaction online has been aimed at her, not him. Part of that is probably just how this fandom has always operated. Martell's pattern is old news at this point. People stopped being shocked by him seasons ago. Ariane, on the other hand, is newer to this level of scrutiny, and there's this sense that she should have known better going in, since she watched the whole Melody situation unfold from a front row seat. And that's really the piece that makes this messier than a typical cheating scandal storyline. Arion wasn't some outsider who had no idea what she was walking into. She was reportedly part of the reason the previous relationship fell apart to begin with. She watched the fallout happen publicly. She saw what the pattern looked like from the outside before she ever had to experience it from the inside. So when people say she should have seen this coming, it's not really speculation. She had a front row seat to the exact preview of what she's living through right now. So what happens from here? If history with this show tells us anything, this probably won't be the last round of leaked messages we see. And it definitely won't be the last time Melody's name gets pulled into a conversation she isn't even part of anymore. That seems to just be how this particular cycle works once it starts running. Usually, one leak invites a response leak, and then somebody's cousin or best friend adds their own screenshots into the mix. And before you know it, half the cast has weighed in on something that started as one private argument. There's also the question of what this does to the show's storyline going forward, assuming production leans into it, which, let's be honest, they almost always do. A leaked text scandal involving the current girlfriend of a returning cast member is exactly the kind of thing that gets built into a season arc rather than quietly ignored. So don't be surprised if we see confessionals specifically addressing this within the next few episodes, with producers asking pointed questions designed to get both sides on camera reacting to screenshots we've all already seen 100 times on social media. But here's the part that actually makes me want to know what you all think. Is Arion setting herself up for the exact same outcome Melody had, just on a delay? Or does she genuinely believe this time is different because she's the one holding the relationship now instead of watching it from the outside? Because from where I'm sitting, the messages themselves don't really support the "this time is different" theory. It looks a whole lot like the same show, just recast with new lead actors. And another thing worth sitting with for a second. Arion clearly saw how this played out for Melody. She watched the cheating, the public fallout, all of it, from a front row seat, since she was reportedly part of the reason it happened in the first place. So, it's not like she's walking into this blind. She had the receipts before she ever got the relationship. Which almost makes this messier, not less messy, because now she's not a bystander repeating history by accident. She's someone who saw exactly how this story goes and decided to read the same script anyway. That's really the piece that I think people are reacting to more than anything else here. Not the texts about the school folder, not the nickname, not even the phone calls. It's the fact that none of this should be surprising to her specifically. She had the preview. She watched the trailer already play out in real time. And she still bought a ticket to the sequel. Anyway, that's where things stand right now on the Martell and Arionne situation. If you've been following this storyline since the Melody days, let me know in the comments how you think this one plays out, because I have thoughts, but I want to hear yours first. And if you're new here, this is celeb creativity, so stick around, because this drama is nowhere close to being finished.